And we're back, and so many things have changed. Namely, the update has dropped. The preview branch for the upcoming new release or the full release has actually has become accessible, and I really, really, really do want to play it. However, I know if I start playing it, I will never finish this map. So, change in plans. I am going to smash through the last of this map. I basically have an enormous amount of tea and food on hand, and I'm going to hammer through all of this. This is basically the second carbon capture thing. I've finished most of it already. I'm just going to finish that off now. The second thing I'm going to do is I have already actually reconfigured all the rockets. All of them are now running on hydrogen. I basically switched out all the petroleum feeds because, well, I have an awful lot more dupes, which means I have an awful lot more hydrogen, which means I can switch my rockets to hydrogen. Which reminds me, have they finished that wire over there? Yeah, doesn't matter. Plan is finish this. I want to finish this up this week. I basically want it all done and dusted so I can start playing around in the new maps. I've seen some of the new biomes and some of the new techs and the new buildings, and I really, 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 really want to play them. But first up, I'm just going to finish off all this stuff, and we'll cut back in when this is done. And good enough. They'll get around to finishing that off eventually. Now, I do have to do a few modifications here on this, but they're not a big deal. I can cover those at a later date. Rockets are all done. Everything's finished there. I need to find a way to actually start disposing of the carbon dioxide I'm bringing in, which means we need to go and get around to doing some really, really big slickster farms. Actually, one thing I also have to do is put down some sort of storage container for this junk. Yeah, 1 second. And that should sort that. Basically, all the carbon dioxide is going to get stored down here. And why is that activated already? That should be if the temperature is if the liquid's above. Oh, that's what carbon dioxide, the color of carbon dioxide, what it looks like in a pipe. It's a very weird color. I like it. Anyway, that's where we're going to store all the carbon dioxide for now. I honestly, they're already overflowing. This one over here is already at max capacity, and yeah, I'm getting cracked pipes. I'm going to have to start recirculating this or doing something. I'm not too worried. I think I'm just going to let the pipes chill out. I do have to get all that liquid carbon dioxide though down to the oil biome, which is going to be an interesting challenge to say the least. Now, my next step is going to be to rip out all of these and put in way, way, way more slickster farms. In fact, I am going to have to push. I've been doing some work in the background, and I figure I'm going to need to actually push them all the way out to here just to get enough space to run the amount of slickster farms I'm going to need. So I'll get started on that, and we'll cut back in a minute. And this is what the slickster ranches are going to start looking like. What I decided on here was I wanted to be able to scoop out all the eggs automatically, so I've made it just as wide as the auto sweeper. In fact, one tile narrower, because this makes the room exactly 96 tiles, which means it can fit in the full 8. It's the maximum size you can get. So I can fit in a full 8 slicksters in here. So this seemed to be about the best option I could have, and I should be able to squeeze in 6 of them all the way along here, and then another 6 on top. So I should be able to stick in 12 ranches in here, which should hopefully be pretty good. Though I'm going to be a bit slowed down, I accidentally broke the vacuum seal up here by doing something with, I think I replaced that block with an insulated tile. Yeah, because I still haven't learned my lesson and oxygen snuck in and it's a mess. But that will be fixed shortly. In the meantime, I am going to continue doing this and, well, we'll just keep going until the ranches are ready to go. I've decided to change the naming conventions on the new recruits. I have been naming them, whatever the new recruits were, as in the number I'd hired them after I decided to go for 100 dupes. But instead, I decided to put the number here as however many dupes, whatever number dupe it is that I've recruited. So I have 42 dupes in the base and another 6 in rockets, so that's 48. So this is dupe number 49. It's just a simpler way to keep track of exactly where I am because I keep having to check what new recruit it is before I hire one. This just seems a lot simpler. Anyway, still going on with the ranches and still trying to vacuum this area out so I can put in a couple more. As well as that, I'm going to have to actually split my power grid slightly differently. The reason being the power draw here on one is quite tasty, but I want to add more power draw down here, and that's a little high. Whereas if I go up to the other half of the network that's handling space, yeah, there's very little on this. So I'm going to change the split on the power grid so that I can draw a little bit more power from the lower network. To do that, I'm going to just get ready to hook them up there, and I'm instead going to disconnect this down here, probably inside this box. If we check the power overlay here, yeah, if I cut that off about there, wait, no, here, that should add a bunch of the more heavily used transit tube accesses to the top network and hopefully remove a little bit of pressure on the bottom grid. Anyway, we'll do that in a minute. I just want to try and get this sucker vacuumed out so I can get around to finishing off these ranches. And, oh, okay, so this is power grid separation again. I've preemptively got the power cables here within one tile of each other so I can just insta-connect them. And let's see what that does to the power grid up top. Power grid up top has not noticed. Okay, what's it done to the power grid down bottom? Because that's what we're hoping for. Oh, maybe I need to add more to that top power grid. Dear Lord, this bottom one, how am I drawing so much power? Okay, yeah, I suppose there is a lot of transit tube accesses and a lot of power draw down here. Yeah, there is the petroleum boiler, the natural gas boiler, a bunch of stuff. Yeah, but I think I'll make a different cut somewhere else. I might actually have to do some more shenaniganry. I might have to sever the power cord there and reconnect those two. We'll see. Yeah, so I used a quick little mini gas pump here to vacuum out this area and get it finished. Mini gas pumps are great for getting out that last bit of oxygen if you're in a hurry, but I'm usually so lazy I just leave the big gas pumps going and come back to it later and worry about it then. Or not worry about it, if you leave them long enough they're going to do the job. And if you're in a hurry though, definitely mini gas pumps made of plastic will make it a lot faster. Now, a couple of people were asking me why I don't use molten slicksters, as in the slicksters that consume carbon dioxide and actually excrete petroleum, thinking it would be simpler and faster. And yes, it would be a faster way to get my petroleum instead of running it through the boiler. However, there's a few downsides. Say grab a slickster here. You can increase their molten larva chances by exposing them to heat between 100 to 250 C, which is fine. However, maintaining that temperature constantly, every time every time a slickster lays an egg, the default chances of that critter revert back to normal when it's hatched. So I think it works out about 65% chance. If you have a molten larvae or a slickster, it has about a 65% chance on birth of giving another molten slickster, which means you normally have to, well, you have to keep the place above 100 degrees to make sure everything keeps staying as molten slicksters. I don't like running at that temperature. That temperature brings me a little bit close to what I like. It's 159 degrees to melt my plastic ladders and my plastic transit tubes. It's a lot better than it was. It used to be, I think, 120, 125. So back then, yeah, you really didn't want to be messing with molten slicksters and have plastic anywhere near them. But I don't like running that hot. The reason being, usually your oil biome is going to regulate down to about 80 to 90 degrees because of all the crude oil coming out of here. The crude oil coming out of your oil wells is always going to be 80, 90 degrees. So it has a tendency to drag down the temperature in here. I don't want to be trying to generate heat to keep my slicksters. Oh, yeah. Am I? Yeah, that was stupid. I'm actually pumping carbon dioxide out of here now. Well, at least it's not going into this area. I'm trying to make a vacuum, so that is okay. Actually, let's check the gas overlay. Yes, this gas overlay is life-changing for trying to figure out what's happening when you're making a vacuum. Definitely makes things a lot simpler. Now, uh, oh, 1 second. I just got to finish this ladder segment in here so I can get the last of those. I'm double insulating all of this so it won't leak any heat in. So this entire natural gas boiler, all double insulation all the way along, and an air gapped liquid lock to make sure that nothing can leak out of there. Now, this basically is going to be my next 4 ranches. Once I got these up and running, I'll transfer all of these over here and decommission them. But there's a couple of other things I got to set up before I even bring these online. I'm basically shipping out all the eggs, and I need somewhere to ship them. I'm going to go with automated omelet production, as in we are not going to cook the omelets, we are just going to boil them in water until they turn into omelets spontaneously. Turns out you can cook quite a good omelet with a teppidizer. One of the reasons I've also been splitting the power grid. I split the power grid again over, where is it? I moved it back another chunk. I reconnected it over here and disconnected it here instead. And right now the top grid is drawing a little bit more power. Bottom grid still a little bit higher than I'd like, but seriously, how much do I have to disconnect? Literally, this power grid is only running from here through this brick, and that's it. On top of that, the only other thing it's running is the natural gas boiler. Whew, I should really tidy up my whole power grid. It's getting, well, okay. It is a complete mess. Look at the size of that thing. It's just everywhere. I've actually lost track of where half the stuff is going now at this point. Hmm. Yeah, well, we'll see. And another thing I have to do, which is actually becoming quite a problem, is I need to improve my base. I'm getting up on 49 dupes right now, and I only actually have facilities for 50. Luckily, some of my astronauts haven't been out in a while, so they haven't started claiming beds, but I basically have to install another dining hall and some more bedrooms. And how is we looking up there? But I'll just skip forward and I'll install the dining hall and the bedrooms. They're pretty quick. And there we go. A whole extra 2 dining halls get ready. Well, not quite up and running yet. Threw in an extra bedroom up there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 bedrooms. Those are for 80 dupes. And I've got enough dining halls for 100. Well, once all the construction is finished. And I've started replacing this row down here with airflow tiles and doors because I do want to actually cut down on the oxygen pressure in here. I've got this running at about, what was it, 6 to 8 kilos. Unfortunately, I've got a problem. The reason being, I'm getting popped eardrums on all my dupes, but let's say grab Beastie 2 here. So if we look at stress, where's their stress gone? Here. Change, minus 35% of cycle. Soul food is giving them minus 15. High morale, minus 20. Popped eardrums, though, is plus 20. So basically, the high morale is counteracting the popped eardrums, but then the soul food, I'm not going to have enough barbecue to feel all my dupes. So basically, that's not something I can guarantee for everyone, which means I'm stuck with smelled flowers, pleasant chit chat, and new friend, all of which I can't guarantee, except for maybe the smelled flowers. This is going to add more stress to the dupes, so I really do need to find a way to actually keep the pressure in here at below 4 kilos, I believe is what it pops them. So I tried doing that earlier, and when I reduced the gas pressure in here, unfortunately, the carbon dioxide basically just got a little bit out of control. So I had to crank up the pressure again to make sure my dupes were getting oxygen. My bathroom's actually clogged up with CO2. I had to put in these as emergency measures to let the carbon dioxide out. So I'm going to put in airflow tiles along the side here. Actually, I'm going to finish walling this in. And that way I can actually get gas flow on both sides. I'm going to have the carbon dioxide flow down the middle, airflow tiles all through here, and I'm going to have it flow down the edges all the way down to the bottom of the map. I'm also going to have to redo these atmosuit docks. I've got, how much oxygen do I have coming in here? 3 kilos? Yeah, I've got 3 kilos of oxygen coming in here. I'll put in 30 exosuit docks. That'll give me 90 exosuit docks, which should be plenty for everything I need. These coal generators, yeah, I'm going to rip them out. I liked keeping backups and I liked having them, but honestly, we are in a rush to get to the end of this because I really, really, really want to play the new update with all the new mechanics available. So yeah, I'm going to just smash through a bunch of this stuff. Actually, we'll insulate you there, actually, all the way down. That's where the wall's going to be anyway. And yeah, we'll get around to that. Oh, and the oil biome, how's it looking at the moment? Oh, actually, no, I don't have that hotkey just yet. But yeah, that's basically it. We've got most of that up and running. I am going to move that gym, though. I'm going to move the gym down to... Actually, let me think for 1 second. Okay, then. So, I moved the gym up here and expanded it so we can take on more duplicates. I put in another bedroom here, so that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So that means I can now support 100 dupes in beds and 100 dupes in dining because we have 4 dining halls, each capable of supporting 25 dupes. So I need some artwork up there. Where's Art Doug? Oh, Art Doug's slowly grinding through all the art I queued up. Also, as a minor bit of fun for the art down here, I just used nothing but space artifacts. This place has the most amazing decor you've ever seen. Was it that space there is exposed to 2030 just from pedestals. That up there is 2300 as well, 2700. Yeah, it's about 2000 decor exposure. There's actually decor is working out a little bit different than I expected. Where's decor? You'll see there the decor is going up at 1000, but I think that's actually just a glitch. If you look down there at average decor this cycle, average decor last cycle, it's actually over 1000. So they can actually absorb more than 1000 decor per second. So it seems decor bombing doesn't have a limit, as far as I can tell. You can just keep throwing down more decor until 5 seconds of exposure gives them enough for the 120 average for the whole day. Anyway, I think that's about the last of this. I'm going to strip out a side row down here to provide airflow. So I think everything down here can actually go to, yeah, all the way down. And that will give us some extra airflow for our carbon dioxide to get out of there. So we can delete that. And now I can actually remove these and put in some, well, I can move these around so that they actually don't get in the way anymore. I'm going to bring them in line with the rest of the base. That shouldn't be too hard, hopefully. Oh, yeah. Before I dismantle these, I want to make sure all the dupes have dropped off their suits. So to do that, I'm actually going to get all of them and make sure that none of them can exit out of here anymore. I want them, dupes only come back in through here. They never exit through here until the replacements go in. So yeah, this is how I'm going to make sure they drop off all their suits. We'll see how long it takes for that to happen, though. And finally, they've actually dropped off all the suits. Everything here is filled in. Actually, let's check the top docks. Yeah, this has actually worked out quite nicely. Now, unfortunately, well, it would be unfortunate, but they've already popped all their eardrums, so we're just going to dismantle all of these. And when you do dismantle all of these, the oxygen inside, which is 200 kilos, basically... Oh, no. Oh, no. There's slime lung germs. Oh, not in the oxygen, it's actually on the atmosuit docks themselves. Is there? You know what? I think we've got enough germs in the area that any slime lung that does break out, we can survive it. And while I'm at that, I'm going to clean up all this piping. And by clean up, I mean demolish all of it. Just completely gone. Yeah, we're going to be moving that around slightly in the upcoming upgrade. I still remember putting that in. That was an awful lot of thinking and effort. I think I preferred the straight through version. Once you've got a Rodriguez electrolyzer up, those things just churn out so much oxygen. Straight through is fine. As long as you never have to worry about it shutting down, you should be able to just churn out as much oxygen as you need. Now, yeah, we'll just fast forward a little bit here until we're getting ready to put the new docks in. Okay, so my bad, I shouldn't have demolished the Atmosuit dock checkpoint because now all the dupes are running in here in their Atmosuits, and I have no idea if this is how much this is going to mess stuff up. But all I'm doing right now is just manually getting them out of there and locking the doors so they can't come back in. For some reason, they can walk in the doors quite handily, even though I've set them up this way and turned them to lock. They shouldn't be able to enter at all, yet still doing it. Oh wait, no, I missed a few. Oh, that might explain it. All right. Well, I'm locking them now, so hopefully they won't get back in. Have I got everyone in an Atmos suit to actually leave by another exit? You, what are you? You know what? Go out. Out, out, out. Everyone out. Okay, just be a bit careful if you're completely demolishing and moving your Atmos suit docks. Yeah, hopefully they'll go out that way and drop off their Atmos suits or keep them. I don't know. I'm probably going to end up with some on the floor, but it's a minor mess. Not going to worry about it. Anyway, we'll skip forward a little bit more. And we finally hit recruit number 50. Halfway there. I think I'm going to get all the infrastructure up and then just basically just run it looking for dupes at that point. Though I still have a fair bit of infrastructure left to go. Once I get these suits up and running, I think that's pretty much the majority of the base up and running. All I'll have to do is do a little bit of tweaking to get the gas to flow down and make sure all the carbon dioxide ends up down at my carbon skimmer. I was going to actually collect the carbon out of here, but since I've got the carbon sinks up, it seems kind of pointless to try and harvest, 170, 180 grams of carbon dioxide a second. It doesn't seem like it's actually worth the effort. But maybe. It depends how bored I get when I'm spinning for dupes later. Anyway, we're almost done here. I'll skip forward just a little bit more. So, pretty much everything is done and dusted on this one. Well, not done and dusted, but we've got in our little accident catcher here that will whisk away any accidents that happen. So basically, if a dupe comes back after having an accident, when they take off the suit, all the mess will drop down here, go into our little collection area and get dumped off into the sewage system. Now I'm filling the whole place full of oxygen right now, and now the Rodriguez electrolyzers do about a kilo per... Oh, actually that one seems to be stuttering out. I'm putting in so many gas pipes right now, everything's stuttering, but even at a kilo per second, that's going to be about 200 seconds per suit, 10 docks. Oh, it's going to take a while. I'm also going to put in some viscogel locks right here. Reason being, this will make the whole place airtight, and I don't have to worry about any gases getting in or out. Enable auto bottle. Actually, why would I enable auto bottle on that? I have loads of viscogel. Actually, yeah, whatever. Anyway, I'll just cut this out again and wait until we're just about ready to fire this up. And pretty much everything is done. I'm not going to wait until all of these exosuit docks fill up and open it. I'll open it later once they've all filled up. It's going to take a little bit of time. That's an awful lot of oxygen they got to dump in there. But once this is all set up, I can start maybe playing around with turning down the oxygen pressure in here. I think, actually no, I still have to do this side over here, which I will get around to later. I'm going to have to put in a similar gas drop here so that all the carbon dioxide can escape. Yeah, there'll be more infrastructure over there. Not much though. But by and large, I've got enough. Wow, okay. I have enough space now for 100 dupes in here. That base is actually looking pretty chunky, even though we compactified it. Another thing I have to do is get rid of a bunch of these over here. They are not helping my frame rate at all. So, where's attack? For the good of the frame rate, you all have to go, I'm afraid. The critters on the ground I will get around to later. The reason being I want those morbs. I want the morbs alive. What is those? You know what? Who cares? So this should hopefully help. Oof, that's a bit loud. This should hopefully clear up my frame rate a bit. I'm also going to get rid of all the critters, though. I think I'm going to give them all a quick shearing first so I can get my hands on some more reed fiber. I have a decent amount of reed fiber, but not enough that I can be that happy. But I think we'll skip forward past this evolution uh, bonanza. Okay, let's. Yeah, it's just nothing to see here. Nothing to see. So I'm doing a bit of critter cleanup here. I'm wrangling them all up into this section, shearing the ones that need shearing, and then evolving them so that they can be more useful to the colony and achieve their final form. But hopefully, clearing out all of these will help clean up my frame rate a bit. Well, that and maybe get rid of. What do we got? Nothing. Never mind. Ooh, more sand. Why not? Yeah, hopefully that'll help clear up the frame rate and get things moving a little bit faster. And then I can finally get back to doing slicksters. I was going to have to clean these all up before I did the slicksters anyway. Otherwise, they'd be interfering with everything. Anyway, I'll just go clean out the last of these critters now. So my critters appear to have evolved into their final forms, and I've cut down an awful lot on the amount of critter pathing that was going on. There's still a few eggs left there. I'll wait till they hatch, and then there'll be a second round of evolutions. But now back to slicksters. Okay, so the slickster ranches are coming together at last. I haven't actually done up any of the slickster replication, as in how I'm going to replicate them all. I'm stealing the idea from Cohen Visser, I believe. So I'm going to be basically ripping off his idea for letting the slicksters actually sit on the ground and hatch after about 20 cycles, and then wrangling them into the appropriate stables. I should be able to get pretty good critter control on how many go in there. But for the time being, I'm just going to finish off these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll get in 8 of them anyway. And then once I have 8 of them in, I can start the replication process, and then I'll have to build slickster ranches as I go along to improve crude oil production. Anyway, I'm just going to fast forward this a bit more because, yeah, this is going to take some more time. There's just so much construction at this stage. But once I've got all this done, I should be a case of just skipping by until I get more dupes. Now, for actually getting the slicksters to reproduce, all I'm doing is I am dedicating one. Okay, this rail over here. Actually, I'm going to dedicate 1 1/3, but for the time being, let's just say we're dedicating one whole ranch, and all the eggs from it will be dumped in here. And those eggs will just sit there and hatch naturally over time after 20 cycles. With 8 slicksters in there, I should theoretically, 6 slicksters should allow me to support about 100. Well, theoretically, 8 should get me up to, I know, 120 or so. So I'll need this and maybe 1/3 of another ranch, and I should be able to support the whole population just by dumping them in here and letting them hatch naturally. The rest of the eggs will be sucked up along this bottom rail, and that's going to go to a different place. That's going to go to, well, an evolution area, probably somewhere a little bit chilly. Say something that will force them to evolve into their final form. For the time being, I'm just going to skip forward a bit more. Like I said, this is going to be aggressive play. I want to get through this as quickly as possible, so I'm not going to be hanging around and explaining every single step. It's just going to be the case of more of these. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 there. We'll be putting in another 6 there. Well, once I get this up and running, I'm leaving these slicksters up here running for the time being, because I do actually want to be processing some of that carbon dioxide. But once this one is fully saturated with 8 slicksters, yeah, I'll probably start decommissioning these. Well, 8 slicksters in here and another, and say 20 cycles have passed, so around cycle 1800. Once cycle 1800 hits, I'll start decommissioning these ones up here. Yeah, I've got several of them up and running so far, but I haven't actually implemented the final stage yet, which is all these eggs that come out of here. I want to send them up here. They're going to go all the way up, and they're going to go into this tank. This tank is going to be full of, well, I'm just putting in clean water. You could put in petroleum, crude oil, whatever you like. And through that tank, I am running the polluted water from my power plant. So all of the polluted water out of my power plant is coming through here, and it's usually quite chilly. Also, some of the toilet water is going through there. Not ideal, but yeah. So that's coming out at, well, the water's at 30 degrees, but it will keep dropping. This is where all the eggs are going to end up. So the eggs will drop down in here, they'll hatch. It will be an evolutionary challenge for them to evolve, and then they will turn into their final form, which I can then ship off to, well, to the kitchens. So I'm just going to finish off some more of this and wait until this fills up, and then we should be good to automate the whole process. At the time being, my eggs are still being harvested manually by the dupes. They're still picking them up, so I'll have to arrange something to fix that in a bit, but not just yet. So finally, we've got most of the boring junk with out of the way. These slickster ranches are actually up and operational, but they don't have any slicksters in them just yet, most of them. But this one here is the important. This one here is the breeding one. It's the one that's got 8 slicksters in it, and all of the output from them goes into this room. Now, this room is set to auto-wrangle all critters above 0, so the moment a critter is hatches in here, it will immediately get wrangled. These 8 slicksters will be able to spit out about 133 slicksters every 100 cycles, or 133 eggs every 100 cycles. So theoretically, it's not quite accurate, but I should theoretically be able to support a population that large. However, I do have to have replacements. They have to replace themselves as well, and as well as that, they'll be babies when they first start. So for the first 5 cycles, they won't start reproducing. So I'll need a few extra. So I'm going to want about 10 of these actually helping out. So I'm going to want to get at least a quarter of another hatchery in on this. But all the rest of them are spitting their eggs out along here. There's more ranches to come in, by the way, and all of them go up here and they go across to our chill tank. At which point it's getting chillier and chillier and down there. It'll go down to below 0 after a while, but it doesn't really make a difference. So long as it's below 35 degrees, might take a little bit longer if it's only 10 degrees, but so long as the temperature's below 35 degrees, they'll all end up evolving, hopping across here, and all their eggshells and all the meat will get sent up here, and it gets dumped into this conveyor receptacle, which dumps it onto the wire. Actually, now that I think about it, I could probably just bypass that wire entirely and just dump it on there. Actually, you know what? That's probably a smarter plan. I can do that off screen. But then all the meat and eggshells get dumped in here, and then the eggshells get sent actually back across here and down to the kilns get ground up. I should probably do something else about that, but yeah, off screen. Most of the critters have been dealt with. Actually, not all of them yet. I've been any ones that actually have popped down here have been moved up to the shearing area. Anyway, what else was there? Oh, I did some load balancing with the power again. I had some very, very long power cables running all the way from down below here, all the way up to some things I'd built very early on before the rest of this grid went in. So I just threw in a few extra power cables around here and tapped them into this plug socket. It's also happened to spread the power drain a lot better. This goes up to now 10, 12 kilowatts, so I've almost split the power draw equally. Of course, at the same time, I've now ran this power cable up here to power almost a kilowatt worth of jukeboxes. So, swings and roundabouts, that's actually going to eat into my power quite a bit. Anyway, well, next up is actually more slicksters, and I have to bring down the carbon dioxide from space. The problem with the carbon... Actually, that's something I should cover because it's something that's come up a few times already. I was asked, why don't I just build the slickster farms closer to space? Well, there's a reason for that. This here is 8 of the slicksters. Actually, I'm going to pause this 1 second. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's 12 farms. That's 96 slicksters I can support in here. And I need to support about 160. So if I was to actually build this anywhere else, I can't build it anywhere around here. There's too many plants that I'm trying to keep alive. Plus, I'd already put in that giant power brick there. I could squeeze in some over here, but not all of them. Plus, it's going to start eating into this, which is also providing me with food. I can't squeeze it in here. There's no space. There's no real big empty space where I can build anything anymore. Maybe down here, but that's going to end up eating into this coal biome. I could probably fit in a few, but I couldn't fit them all in. That's the problem. So, yeah, more plants over here. There's a little bit of space there, but nowhere is big enough to actually support the sheer quantity of slickster farms I want to put in. So over here, I can at least rip all of this out. This is pretty much done and dusted. I do not need this anymore, though I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that steam. I'll figure it out as I go. But yeah, this I can rip out as well, so that gives me a buttload more space to put in some more slickster farms. So that's the general plan, more slicksters. And to bring the carbon dioxide down from space, I thought, you know what? This is going to be my last big major project, so why not just go with where is that stuff? The rare resources and go with insulation. Oh wait, no, manufactured material. I have 90 tons of insulation. I can run an insulated pipe from the top of the map to the bottom. Just about. If I use a few bridges, like if you'll notice here on these, I use bridges here along with insulation because bridges don't transfer heat or exchange heat with anything. So basically saves you 1 pipe worth of insulation every time you use a bridge. Worth the price if you ask me. So, well, especially when it comes to insulation. Now, I could probably build a bit more insulation because I have collected some more reed fiber, but even with all those Drecos I sheared, it's not even close, and I'm still dumping excess water into reed fiber down here. Quite a lot of reed fiber. It's just really hard to make an enormous amount of insulation. Oh, and miniature gas pumps. Very handy for making a vacuum. I don't normally use them unless I'm in a rush. But if you are in a rush, yep, they're definitely very handy. Anyway, I'll cut this out here for a bit and I'll come back once I've got some more Slickster farms in and we're ready to run that pipe. So I skipped this forward a bit, about 20 cycles, maybe 25. Yeah, I've been doing a fair chunk of work off screen. The Slickster ranches are finally starting to come online. I've only still got about 35 Slicksters down here, but this actual birth hatchery has actually started kicking in. If we check the overlay here, there's between eggs and critters, we're looking at about 20 in there, and hopefully that should only keep getting better. One thing I learned though, for example, you see these little Slickster larvae down here? They're not getting wrangled. They should be getting auto-wrangled, but they're not. It turns out you can't wrangle larvae, or it doesn't seem to want to. The moment they turn into adults, then my dupes come along and wrangle them. So maybe there's something I'm missing here, but I think you cannot actually wrangle a baby Slickster. You have to wait until they're an adult before they can be wrangled. But this should start, hopefully, well, as these are now maturing, they're starting to get dumped in here, and we'll hopefully get this ramped up more. I haven't even started tapping into the carbon dioxide from the carbon sinks at the top of the map yet. I don't need it. I've still got enough coming from the power plant. Oh, yeah, the place up here is actually online. We've got 52 eggs sitting in there, and they're slowly hatching and dumping meat into the system. Even with all of the voles I've got running and the meat coming from this, I'm still not actually eating into the pepper nuts enough, so I need more, well, more meat before I get into the omelets. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be able to generate enough food to support 100 dupes yet. Well, I think I can, but it's going to be tricky. I also walled in a bunch of this. The game's getting much chuggier. Let's pause it for a minute. So I've walled in a few areas, and I've also walled in over here. And I'm starting to wall in chunks of the map over here as well, just to try and reduce pathing options and cut down on gas calculations. And why is there a whole bunch of polluted... Where did that polluted water come from? Oh, I cracked open a pipe, didn't I? I used the deconstruct all command instead of the... Do you know that time when you use the deconstruct all instead of using the just deconstruct building command and you basically delete a whole bunch of piping? Also, let's make sure I didn't delete a bunch of power wires while I'm at it. Nope, managed to miss the power wires, just barely. One second, I'll just queue up some mopping here that needs to be gotten rid of. Another thing as well is I went all the way through here and I started installing space heaters just to heat up the area. So this whole area has been brought up to almost 40 degrees. I've set these all to 37 degrees with temperature sensors. And the whole point behind this was to bring these pinch pepper nuts back to life. They were growth was halted because of body temperature. I'm slowly heating up this whole area. I'm going to bring it all up to 37 degrees to 37 to 40 degrees. That's what I'm going to do across the entire map. Well, anywhere where there's pepper nuts that I can harvest. It was a little energy intensive, but we can afford it. I've also double layered in this sucker here. I don't want this leaking any chill out into the rest of the world. And I'm actually going to put in a liquid lock here and then a visco gel lock. Now, one thing I find with when you're dealing with these ice biomes, you'll set yourself up a visco gel airlock, you'll be happy that chill is not escaping, and then your visco gel airlock will freeze solid because you'll have to wheezewort in there. And you kind of do need to leave the wheezewort in there at least for a while. So to make sure that I don't get caught by my liquid lock freezing, I'm just going to make a liquid lock using supercoolant. So I'll have a supercoolant liquid lock right here. Then I'll vacuum out this area and have my visco lock here. So I'll have a vacuum lock and it'll be the supercoolant that's facing the freezing part. So it should never freeze over. I mean, it's not like I have any use for supercoolant anymore anyway. It still feels kind of wrong, but at the same time, it's a perfectly stable liquid lock that you won't have to worry about. Actually, I'm going to keep an eye on this, otherwise I'm going to waste a bunch of visco gel and liquid locks. 1 second. So yeah, quick visco lock, and I should be a quick visco lock and a super coolant liquid lock, and I should be able to ensure that I never have to worry about this entire area again. I'm going to have to actually do this with the 3 coal biomes, or well, yeah, the 3 entrances I have to coal biomes. The 4th one I don't care about so much. It's down, where is it? No, it's down here somewhere. Yeah, this one's on a downward angle. It shouldn't really pop out too much. More stuff I did in the background was, actually I've got a whole bunch more of these set up to bring these all back to life as well. It's just, I figured I'd do these first and see how it worked out. Now, I've also cracked this open here to let some of the oxygen out. There's too much oxygen pressure all the way around my base. I basically want to vent a bunch of it, hopefully to cut down on heat calculations and a bunch of other stuff. I've also broken it open up here, just so I can let out all the oxygen. Yeah, it might be to do with the constant off-gassing of slime I have going on, which I should maybe stop, but you know what? I want the ceramic. So yeah, I've been basically venting all the oxygen in the main living areas, or the outside of the main living areas, into space just to get rid of it. Now, a couple of other little quirks about some of the designs. Yeah, I moved the liquid lock up here. The reason being, shovels are the most annoying critters I've ever seen. They're able to vomit up dirt onto this tile. So I had a liquid lock there, and they managed to vomit a tile of regolith right in there. So I moved the liquid lock back 2 tiles and erased that one. They also managed to vomit a chunk of regolith up onto this as well, so it seems they can reach over the doors and either go, well, one side or the other. So all I did was I stuck in a mining drill, problem solved. That's not going to bother me anymore. It's just one of those little quirks of that you won't realize until you've actually dealt with them for a while and had it running for a few hundred cycles. Shovels are just so annoying. I'm not actually producing enough hydrogen to keep all of the rockets running constantly. Well, I am so far, but that's going to run out. My backlog is gone. I've also hired a bunch more dupes as well. We're up to 49 plus 6 in the rockets. The rocket guys don't show up in here. So that's up to 55 dupes. But the map is getting really chuggish. You can see it there when I'm scrolling. Even if I go down to normal speed, it's still pretty chuggish. It's like a slideshow. So I think I should be able to hit 100, but I think I'm going to keep most of my dupes locked in the base. The last 4 dupes I released were only beasties, so I could get more ranching going on. Yeah, because I'm going to be expanding this ranch out quite a bit, and I don't think my slicksters, the amount of slicksters I'm planning on building, is going to help the frame rate much more. Um, yeah, I think I've covered most of what I was doing already. Actually, wait, there was one thing I forgot. I accidentally walled this off, as in when I built this, I didn't have that door there or that ladder there, and that overpressurized and actually ate into my oil reserves. So I've since fixed it though and given it access, but you'll notice I don't have any oil around the pressure sensor, though the oil is slowly creeping back up again. Yes, I was wondering why my oil was going down, and I realized this thing had been overpressurized for probably many, many, many cycles. My bad. Anything else? Ah, yes, for the carbon sinks. I've basically been storing the carbon dioxide because I don't actually have enough slicksters to use it yet, and it's damaged my pipes several times. But I just keep repairing them, and slowly but surely the ceramic are going down to normal temperature. I might have been better off actually just using radiant pipes. They'd crack a bit at the start, but they'd quickly stabilize in temperature. Ceramic has actually a fair chunk of heat capacity. Also, I had to squeeze in an extra mining drill over here because I realized I had nothing to remove the regolith above this one, and yeah, the standard I was using, it seemed, didn't fit quite well with two of these, or with 2 carbon sinks combined. Yeah, but I stuck that there. It gets entombed at the start. This drill digs it out, and then this drill clears out the space above it. A little bit of symbiotic play. Yes, and this is probably not helping my frame rate, this enormous amount of carbon dioxide I keep condensing all the time. I mean, it really does produce an absolutely ridiculous amount. I think that's over 4 kilos per second on average. And I think the amount of calculations required in the heat management up here of, condensing all that carbon dioxide, probably not helping my frame rate too much. Anyway, I think I've got way too much footage now. I'll cut this episode out here, but the next episode is basically just going to be back to, well, where is it? Yeah, finishing this off, and I'm going to reduce pathing and all that, and just hire as many dupes as possible. What are we up to? 55. Yeah, we're up to 55 dupes. So hopefully in the next episode I'll get from 55 to 65. Well, that's the plan. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully we'll get this finished before the end of the week. Good luck.